welcome back to another video. So this is my birth story, the part vlog, part birth story as we go throughout. I did end up filming a lot of the clips through most of my labor, actually through most all of the labor. But when it came to the actual birth, I have some still photographs, but unfortunately I was not able to film. I know later in some of the clips in the hospital I do say that I was permitted to film, but I will explain as we go along why that changed. But yeah, so the first whole, like, from where I started to go into labor at home through almost up until the point of her birth, it's pretty sequential clips. It's just me. Anthony's in one of them very briefly, but he was, especially once I got the epidural, he was sleeping most of the time. So just a couple things. I did not put my hair up at all in either of my labors, so my hair is down and a complete hot mess throughout this whole process. I just was more comfortable with it down. I don't really know why, I just was. And I did not comb it at all throughout the process, so it's just a hot mess. But yeah, so just that. Please disregard. I didn't realize how bad it was until I was actually watching the clips later and just like, you know what, I can't refilm this. I can only go into labor once, so with each baby. So anyway, that, and some of the clips are very dark. And there was the ones in the middle of the night. Anthony was asleep. I was in the bed with the epidural, and my flash does not work when I have a video running. It only does with when I have what you call it, taking pictures. So I was not able to figure out how to get it to run. I don't know. I wasn't able to figure out how to make it brighter. I'll try to edit the clips a little bit to make it as bright as I can, but some of them you can barely see me, but you can hear what I'm saying. So I apologize for the slightly bad light, bad lighting in some of those, but I mean, I'm sure if you're here for birth vlog, you'll enjoy. And then towards the end, right before she was born, everything kind of just stops. I stopped filming at that point until I was in postpartum. I will hop in and fill in the gaps at those points. So yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into it. Here you go. Hey guys, today is Wednesday, February 8th. Oh, I think it's around almost noon. It's 11:46. I've been having very painful contractions all morning, and I went to take a shower. When I got out, I dried off. I was getting dressed, and I had just this big old gush all over my bath mat, and I'm pretty sure it might have been my water, although I'm not certain because it hasn't like continued like trickling or anything. It just comes in like small gushes every now and then, so I think my water might have broken, but I definitely know I'm having very painful contractions. They're still about 7 minutes apart, so we're not to 5-1-1 yet. So we'll see. I called him home from work when Bruce getting through the contractions, and taking care of Bruce just proved to be too difficult to do at the same time. And my mom is going to be on her way shortly, so that she's here when we're ready to go get checked. So we'll see. This could be it. Fingers crossed. Baby was due 3 days ago, so hopeful that this is actually early labor. Well, I'll put it this way. I know this is early labor. I'm just hopeful I'm progressed enough to be admitted when we do go in, because I really don't want to be sent home. Oh, this is all so different from my labor with Bruce, since I was at the hospital for the whole thing. And it happened so much more quickly than this is. But that's the difference between induction and natural labor. So we shall see. I'll keep you guys posted. Okay, so we are definitely on our way to the hospital now. My water just exploded all over my living room and bathroom. So, baby's definitely coming now.
Hi.
So, that'll also be the first time I've ever tried filming a birth vlog. We'll see how it goes. Okay, we are here. I don't know how much I'm going to actually end up filming, because this is getting real very quickly. But we'll see. Baby girl's definitely on her way. My water keeps leaking all over the place, and the contractions are now 2 to a max of 3 minutes apart. I'm getting one right now. Alright, it's 5 o'clock now. Oh, these contractions are definitely getting really intense. I think at this point in my labor with Bruce, I was asking for an epidural, but we're going to try to push through. I'm going to get checked in another hour to 2 hours to see where we are. And yeah, definitely another difference between Bruce's labor and little girl's labor here is no cords. Completely wireless. Now they were able to put a wireless monitor on so I can move around and still be on continuous monitoring, which is amazing. So that's where we are right now, and just see how quickly it goes, if she'll be born before midnight or if she'll be tomorrow. Now, I was thinking earlier, ironic she was born before midnight because I'm 40 weeks and 3 days today, and that's what my mom was when I was born. So it'll be quite interesting if my little girl is the same gestational age as me. And it's February 8th, and my birthday is September 8th, so it'll be 2 8s. But we'll see. So just checking in. It's now 8:20 at night. There's definitely been a difference. I stopped filming any clips in between contractions because my battery had died. But I got the epidural about an hour ago now. They finally just finished setting up all the catheter and the peanut ball and all that. The contractions were getting to a point where I was like, I can't handle these. So, and within that first hour of being on the epidural, I went from a 5 to a 7. She checked me before when I was trying to decide whether I was going to get the epidural or not. I was a 4 to a 5 at that point. And I went all the way to an 8, which if you've seen my birth story with my son Bruce, if not, I'll link it right up here. You'll know I never made it past a 7, so I'm just like, yay! I'm so excited. This labor is definitely going much faster than with Bruce, and I don't have any Pitocin. Like, this is all me. I'm so excited about that. But yeah, so it's definitely much more manageable now that I don't have as much pain with contractions. I will say there's no pain. There's no pain now. I feel lots of pressure with every contraction, but no pain. And yeah, otherwise, other than my midwife says she's going to give it another 4 hours before she checks me unless I start to feel constant pressure, which would be no pressure to push. Baby's head is nice and low. I'm completely effaced. So we're getting there. So exciting. I'm a little bit scared because I never pushed Bruce out. I had a C-section with him, so I'm a little scared to push her out, but it'll be okay. We'll get there. I'm so excited. I went into labor on my own this time. It's progressing on its own. I'm so happy. So anyway, now that it's we got that all set up, all the lights are off, and my phone battery is too low right now to turn on the flash, so that's why everything's so dark. But I think we did get consent to film during delivery, so fingers crossed we'll be able to do that. And yeah, I'll just keep you posted as in a contraction right now as things keep going. So baby girl may very well be here before midnight. I'm definitely feeling a lot of pressure with that one. Alright, well yeah, we'll keep you posted, and yeah, that's where we are right now. forgot to mention, this epidural is working quite differently from my epidural with Bruce. I don't feel any of the pain, but I can still move my feet and legs. I couldn't move anything with the epidural I had with Bruce, so that's kind of different. Just another little detail I gotta throw in there. Alright. So I know you guys can't see me really well. Try to get a little better focus. So it's about 10:45 p.m. now. I have not. They just checked me again. I'm now still a solid 8, which I mean is no surprise. I never got past a 7 with Bruce, so the fact that it's taken a little more time and then I'm past that point is perfectly normal. But she is going to give me a little bit of a dosage, a very low dose, just enough to kind of keep things going, as my contractions are kind of spacing out a little bit. Like, not a whole lot, just instead of being 2 to 3 minutes, they're 4 to 6 minutes. So we just want to keep the momentum going, keep things dilating. Yeah, so I don't really think she's going to be a February 8th baby. She'll probably be a February 9th baby, but you know, that's okay. Just gotta get those last 2 centimeters out of the way, and then it'll be baby time. Alright, so now it's about 11:30, I think. Yeah, 11:30. And so I haven't even had the Pitocin on for an hour yet, and I decided to go ahead and turn it off. Just for a little while, to see what's going on. That's just to kind of let my body do its thing. Apparently she's having the most minor dips with the contractions, so they don't want to like cause too much pressure. So yeah, and since I was already progressing on my own, I'm just going to go back to letting me progress on my own, and I may turn it back on after a little bit. We'll see. Just a waiting game now. I've tried getting sleep, but there's enough like pressure in my butt area when I do have a contraction that it keeps waking me up. So I'm getting some rest, but I don't think I'm really going to get a lot of sleep. But that's okay. I'm not close to exhausted yet, so I definitely think I got the epidural when I have time to not be completely wiped out. But yes, we'll keep checking in as things change and happen. Anthony has been fast asleep for a few hours, so I'm just letting him get what sleep he can while he can, so that no matter what time she arrives, he can, you know, he'll be awake and alert to help. So yeah, I'll just keep going. Alright, so it is now like 2 minutes to midnight. She's definitely be February 9th, the baby. Probably see me a little better because I'm now sitting up. They've got me in like a throne position. I'm now a 9, and she can stretch me to a 10. So give it a little while longer yet, and we're probably gonna start doing some pushing, practice pushes. And she's a 0, so right on the cervix. She's doing great. I'm now well past where I was with Bruce, and it just makes me so happy. So yeah, she's right on the cervix, and 9 can stretch to a 10, so it'll probably be in the next hour or 2. Little miss will be here, and my midwife is okay with me filming that part of it. I think I probably mentioned that before. I don't even know what I've said now. I know I look like a mess. But yeah, I'm just very grateful. They said they haven't turned the Pitocin back on at all. It was just on for that brief little, like, 45 minutes, and then, yeah, it seemed to be all I needed, just a little push, and now we're back on it. I apologize if the camera is shaky. I am very shaky right now, which they've told me is perfectly normal as we transition to fully dilated. Oh, and I just gotta start thinking about, well, I don't have to start thinking about it yet, but just I've never been this far along. I've never pushed before, so it'll be a whole new experience. Alright, so yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Alright, so it is now 3 a.m. I have had to turn the Pitocin back on. My contractions were spacing out a bit again. I've been at a 9 where they could stretch me to a 10 for a few hours now. But we're like so close, so we just went through a whole range of position changes to try to increase her descent. She just needs to kind of get her head a little, she can get her head past the cervix and the contractions, and we'll start pushing. But yeah, no hurry to get there and to get to pushing, so I've been able to doze thanks to the epidural, which is nice. But yeah, I think what we just did was sideline release. Very interesting position. I'll link something about it up here. I don't know where my hand is. Picture of like what it is, if I can find one. But yeah, and then she kind of was like wiggling my side throughout the contraction to kind of encourage her to come down, and she's definitely started moving a bit. There's a lot of swishings. Hopefully that means she's moving down. And now I'm in like just a really weird throne position. My legs like butterfly out instead of face, like my knees together, and then lower legs butterflied out as opposed to my feet together and my knees butterflied out. But yeah, so I've had to bolus the epidural a couple times just to have a spot on my lower left back that is not being covered anymore, and it's not too bad. It's not terrible, so. But yeah, so I'm just going to try to close my eyes. They're going to come back in about an hour. Check again and see where we are. So hopefully she'll be born sometime tonight. But yeah, keep you posted. Alright, so hopping back in here. So at this point, yeah, I think I'd said in the clips that the, did I say in the clips? I know I go back and talk about it in one of the postpartum clips, so I'll just tell the story from here out. Let's point out, I think I left off where I was 9 centimeters. She could stretch me to a 10, and I stayed that way for quite some time. Or I had expected, like when she told me I was a 9 so quickly, that I was going to give birth within like the next hour or two, and then it was hours later. I was still at the same point. So it was probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there, when she came in and checked me, and I still had a small lip, but she did have me start doing some practice pushes, and with her hand in there, so she kind of tried to push the lip back behind little baby's head to try to get her around my her head around my cervix so we could push and deliver. And we pushed probably for a good half hour, 40 minutes at least, if not a full hour, just doing the sequencing of pushing. I did get to push on my side. She did not make me lay on my back, thank heavens. I already have a small pelvis, difficult, Bruce had difficulty getting through it, so the fact that I was able to lay in a way where my pelvis could be open was awesome. And yeah, so I can say I've pushed on a baby. I can say that. But sadly, at this point, after all that time, she had descended a little bit more, but she wasn't really moving down around the lip. So my midwife had to call in the OB on duty to consult. And I'm sure this was probably around 5 o'clock. I'm trying to remember like when. I know shift change was at 7, and I know it was like 2 hours between the doctor coming in and when baby finally arrived. Well, no. It's probably around 5 or 6 a.m. Anyway, it was early morning, late night, super, super late night, early morning, or way you want to think about it, wee hours of the morning. So the OB comes in, and when she checks me, she's like, the midwife's like, there's just a little bit of lip. We've been trying to get baby around it. And anyway, so she checks me, is like, no, she's only a 7, like a 6, maybe a 7. It's like, what? A 6, maybe a 7? I've been at a 9 for hours. And so my midwife goes in and rechecks just to make sure, and sure enough, she said I was starting to regress. And in the upcoming clip, when I'm in postpartum, I talked about how it was baby had pulled, from what I understood at the time, baby had pulled her head back about my pelvis and was no longer engaged on my cervix, which was why I was regressing. I found out later that was not the case. The reason I was regressing was due to a condition called uterine exhaustion. I don't remember the exact medical term, but that's basically what they call it, where you've been laboring for so long, your uterus becomes exhausted and just stops laboring. And so when it stops like pulling your cervix open, it also stops holding your cervix open so it can start to close. And at my first postpartum appointment a week later, my midwife said there was also some notes about some swelling on my cervix. So between my uterus just being exhausted, I mean, I don't blame it for being tired. I had been in labor for almost 24 hours at that point, and I had also been having prodromal labor for 2 months. So my uterus had been working hard. If you've been following my prior videos, you've seen my video about prodromal labor and how many times I was in the hospital thinking I was in labor and I wasn't. And yeah, so basically my uterus just decided it was done. It pooped out at 9.5, like literally a lip left to open so I could push this baby out. You can't push a baby at 6 or 7 centimeters. So that's when the OB started talking to me about a C-section, a repeat C-section. My midwife had mentioned it briefly a couple hours prior. She's like, I don't really think we'll get there, but in case we do, just putting it out there in the air. I'm just like, no. Like, I was so bummed. And it just was like, I can't even explain how upset. I just burst into tears, like in the moment. And I remember Anthony asking me after that conversation with the OB if I wanted to film any more clips. And I was just like so upset. I was like, no, I'm not pulling out my phone right now. I am way too upset for that. And in retrospect, I wish I might have, kind of wish I had, but it is what it is. I didn't. So we're just talk through that part. So they came in, they started prepping me. This was around, I know this was right around shift change. So they were talking about how the team who will be doing my C-section might not be the team who's actually there talking to me in that moment. I was just like, no. And then they had, in the few rooms down, they ended up having an emergency C-section. A nurse came rushing in the room, was like, hey, we got to put on pause to grab she came rushing in the room to grab the anesthesiologist, and the OB is like, we have an emergency C-section, we have to go right now. She's going to have to wait. So I was like, okay. I mean, it was kind of like, I don't know whether to be bummed or happy or sad about that. But anyway, so my midwife just kept me on the Pitocin and on the epidural at that point, trying to see if we couldn't open things back up. Baby's heart was taking some pretty big dips, which was one of the reasons they wanted to, between that and my uterus or my cervix starting to close, they're like, maybe we should just deliver this baby abdominally. But yeah, so she just turned the Pitocin way down, so it hopefully it wouldn't affect baby's heart rate so much. But so she kept me on the Pitocin. The epidural kept moving me for the next 2 hours. We were waiting for the other C-section to be completed. And the OB, when she came in, she did check me again before they rolled me back. And I was, now at that point, I had progressed to a 5. I was right back to where I had been 4 o'clock the previous afternoon. And, so we had tried to keep going. We had tried to get my cervix to start opening again, and it didn't work. So got back there about 8:30, got back into the OR room. I guess the only silver lining I can say with having a second C-section was that both my children have now been born in the same room. They wheeled me, I remember when they wheeled me past OR1 and OR2, and I went right into OR3, and I just looked at the sign on the door. I was like, this was where Bruce was born. I don't know why I'm so good at remembering numbers, but I am, and that is one thing I do remember from the crazy fog I was in the night Bruce was born, is that it was OR number 3. And it was OR number 3 again. So Bruce and baby girl were both born under these same lights in the same room. 3 years apart, 3 years and a month apart. Almost exactly 1 month, 3 years and 1 month, because by this time point, it was February 9th. Bruce was born January 7th. So that's kind of neat. But yeah, so, that was why I said I was not actually able to film the pushing or the actual birth. The anesthesiologist was kind enough to take a bunch of pictures of it for me, as I had requested them that they lower the curtain or give me a clear curtain. They could not lower the curtain per hospital policy, and they do not provide clear curtains at this hospital. So that was kind of a bummer. So instead, she had my phone up over the tarp and just took pictures of baby girl being born. So if you don't want to see actual C-section birth, you might want to skip past to, I'll put the timestamp here as to where to skip to if you don't want to see those pictures. If you do, I'll put the stuff.
'Cause you glue all the pieces back together. Yeah, you take all my wrongs and make them better. Yeah, you're making me wanna try forever. And I feel so free, oh my sweet baby. I was never the one to give up the ghost. No, I was so stuck. I kept on playing my part, wanting to give up cause nothing was changing. But with you it's so clear, and now that you're here I see colors in every spectrum. Guess I finally learned my lesson. Cause you glue all the pieces back.
Alright, so that's baby girl's birth. I will probably use one of those photos in the upcoming video to reveal her name. Precious, sweet little baby. I've caught myself almost saying it a couple times. At this point, I'm 2.5 weeks postpartum, sitting at home filming this, and so obviously I call her by her name all the time. And she's currently napping, which is why she's not here with me. Normally, she's baby wrapped to me or in my arms. But today is Anthony's first day back at work, and I actually managed to be able to get both Bruce and baby girl down for a nap at the same time. So I had some time to sit down and film this.